Hello, and welcome to the OT Jojo cast, where we will be talking about anything and everything JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. In today's pilot episode, we will be covering the first arc of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, Phantom Blood. We're your hosts, Hero K, and
Leo.
keep in mind that there will be spoilers for Phantom Blood, because we'll be discussing all the elements, and there may be potential spoilers for other parts, and we will leave a list of the other parts that are spoiled in the description. With that in mind, let's jump right into the setting and story of Phantom Blood.
So basically, Phantom Blood, and by the way, potential spoilers ahead, is about Dio's life. Basically, sure, it's going to be about Jojo, but overall, when you look at it, it's more about Dio's life story and how it progresses with the characters. You got Jonathan, the main protagonist, and ultimately the hero, taking on Dio's plans and schemes, dealing with family and the curses as it goes through, a big grudge, and the characters that they affect, because other characters that are affected by their grudge that grows into a giant conflict overall.
Can you give us a quick summary of all the major events, or at least the introductory events of Phantom Blood, for people who might not be as familiar with it?
Well, the introduction could be that Dio's family is very poor, and then he was shrugged off from his dad to live with the Joestars, who are wealthy, and who meets Jonathan, who wants to be a gentleman. Then off they go with their feud from there on as it grows. There.
And then as they grow older, the feud grows more powerful, and one
Oh
of
yeah.
the artifacts in the house was a stone mask that turns people into vampires. And basically, after Dio's plans for taking over the Joestar estate go south, he uses the stone mask to turn himself into a vampire. And part one, launches in the high gear from there. Like before, you'd think things were serious, but no. Once Dio turns into the vampire, all heck breaks loose, and, everything goes from there.
Indeed. And also with the characters, since we're going in that part, right?
Yeah.
With the characters, you can dissect their attitudes and their mannerisms right off the bat. And there will be a lot of posing, without a doubt. Because Jojo, there's a lot of posing.
Okay, so and then what was your favorite part of part one?
Well, of course, Dio overall, I mean, he stole the spotlight. It was his show, his story.
Yeah, I would have to say one of my favorite elements was the introduction of Speedwagon, where Jonathan ends up in Crime Alley to get the cure for the poison that his father has been taking, and where Speedwagon wounds him, and then sees that Jonathan is still a gentleman even when faced with against all odds, and then he's like, wow, I really respect this guy. I need to lend my talents to him, and I'll follow him the rest of my life, basically. And Speedwagon is crazy important, in other parts, seeing as he's one of the reasons anything can get done in part 2 and part 3, but that's Speedwagon. Riku, what are some of Speedwagon's defining traits?
Speedwagon's loyal, for one thing, after getting kicked that hard into the face.
Mm-hmm.
And, well, he's very thoughtful and then would do anything for a friend. And with that being said, is why I think that's one of his most defining trait. And he always build up hype for whatever reason there is.
That plus he also inspired very charming memes even Speedwagon is afraid. I really love that meme. And
Yeah, and my favorite meme from Speedwagon is Speedwagon withdraws coolly.
Yes, that was a really funny part because he's powerless against the vampires and stuff that Dio commands, and he's like, well, I'm just a normal guy. I don't want to die here, so yeah, I'm just gonna do my own thing elsewhere. You guys can take care of it.
And yeah, that was his thing. And then with Jonathan, it's Well, for me, when I think about Jonathan, he doesn't really have a personality. All I remember was he wanted to be a gentleman and stuff like that, being righteous.
Yeah, like Jonathan is cool and all, but you don't really see Joestars with personality until you get to Joseph, and then Josuke. Like those are the two who I would say have the most personality of all of the Joestars. Well, Jonathan. Jonathan is like your very standard, very white bread shonen protagonist who's just very muscular and manly.
Indeed. And then you have like Jotaro, who is practically the grumpy one out of the whole, like, family tree.
Yeah, he's basically a tsundere. But,
Yeah, that's basically it. Like, I mean, he doesn't grow to be Sundari very minimally at part 4, but overall, like, when you think back, Jonathan, it's basically the blank slate for these guys to have emotions.
it kind of makes you wonder how he picked up someone like Arena, and, Arena is also a really cool character. Like, I really liked how she was introduced into Jojo, how, she had the crush, like how Jonathan and her fell basically in love, and then how Dio tries to ruin it with his famous line.
Yeah, his famous line, it still carries up it holds up pretty well up today. Your first kiss was in Jojo, it was I, Dio. Till this day, it's phenomenal how it like stacks up.
If anyone knows anything about Jojo other than the crazy Part 4 scans, they know, hey, Dio is like, he's Dio. He does what he does, and he's really good at it, like just being a massive, like, horrible person.
Yeah, and this is what I like about what he is. He just does it.
And, Arena does come into play much later. She's actually very pivotal to the ending of Part 1. But we'll cover that later. Before we, get to the ending, there's still one major character that we still haven't covered yet, which would be, Zeppeli.
Zeppeli is that one Italian guy that comes out of random, but then he has a very, very vital role to basically the Joestar lineage.
Yeah, definitely. And with Zeppeli, like the Zeppeli family, has the thing called, knows how to use the power of the ripple, and without the Zeppeli family, the Joestar family wouldn't be able to use the ripple. And so without Zeppeli going, hey, I see that you're facing off against this vampire. There's only one way to deal with the vampires, which would be sunlight. Let me teach you how to, use your life energy to channel the sunlight in the ripple.
Indeed.
And it was pretty cool because, like, the way he shows how to use the ripple, it's like, hey, here's this frog. Let me show you. Boom! Just punch through the frog and chat at the rock underneath it without hurting it. And, yeah, that just shows how powerful the ripple can be when used in the right hands, and, how precise as well. Like, when Jonathan was being taught how to use the ripple, how if he didn't spill any drop from the wine glass, that he, had the innate potential to use it.
Oh yeah, and then how it plays very like vital how well it progresses with the story with just the ripple alone. Like, it's not really used as often, but as it shows, it has a significance of how nature's played with it.
Yeah, and like the incorporation of the ripple is one of the best things about Part 7. After it takes a 4-part break between Parts 2 and 7, where only Joseph knows how to use the ripple in Part 3, and after that, ripple was that we have our stands. Our stands, wreck shop, but that's pretty off topic. So, do you have anything else that you want to talk about character-wise or story-wise? Like everyone else is pretty minor.
Well, I like how the story is basically your old classic castle, like, vampire stuff all meshed in, like classic old monster movies. And then it even like makes nods to like several references to other stuff, like Jack the Ripper being in London and stuff like that.
Yeah, I really liked how they were like, oh yeah, Dio? Yeah, Dio's just Jack the Ripper. He's just Jack the Ripper. And, that's funny because, we never did catch Jack the Ripper, so it does make sense that someone that's vicious and devious as Dio would be Jack the Ripper. But, even all great villains have to come to a natural end. And I really do like the ending of part 1, where Jonathan basically overpowers Dio with the Ripple, causing him to go, well, I can't let this Ripple kill me while I'm in my prime. I'm going to have to sacrifice my body and come for revenge later. And then, the ending is with Jonathan getting to marry Irina and them setting off to America when, Dio comes out of nowhere and goes, no, I'm going to control this cruise and I want my revenge on you. It's a very vicious cruise where everyone ends up dying except for Irina and Jonathan and then one infant. And so to let, Irina and the infant escape, Jonathan sacrifices himself to hold off Dio because he's gotten to be too powerful. And Dio's like, wait, no, stop. I can give you eternal power. And by that time, Jonathan, meets an unfortunate end where he's like channeling his last Ripple into Dio to hold him still while Irina and the infant escape in a coffin. So, what did you think of the ending overall? I feel it really sets a good tone for the rest of JoJo, and it shows the Joestar family curse where George dies because of it, and now the next victim in Jonathan, and it kicks off the rest of the parts excellently because it segues perfectly into part 2 and then part 3.
Yeah, that's what I love about it.
You also,
among other things.
Right, and then you also wanted to talk about the various references that JoJo had to other media, correct?
Oh yeah, definitely. Speaking of which, you know how Irina kind of stalks. Yeah, I'm putting this lightly. Kind of stalks Jonathan, right?
Yeah.
Remember, Naruto, right?
Yeah, definitely, huge fan.
Yeah, just like how Hinata did the same thing with Naruto back when they were kids.
And then another huge JoJo reference in Naruto could be seen and it could be interpreted like the curse mark that Orochimaru does, because the Joestar family is cursed and they have the
birthmark on the neck,
yeah.
On the nape of the neck.
Yeah, the star.
Yeah.
Guess where Orochimaru places his curse mark on his disciples.
And then later on, it just progresses how well it works with other media. Several other people take just the kiss alone from it was IDEO. It's seen in other animes that are just parodying it.
But Leo, there was one thing that you really know a lot about. And JoJo borrows really heavily from that, and I feel that's the last topic we should cover for tonight. So, if you would, can you let us know, where JoJo takes, Phantom Blood drew inspiration from?
Oh, yeah. JoJo is not basic. I'm sure it's an originator of some anime shows, but it also takes a huge influence from Hakuto no Ken. For us Northerners, it means Fist of the North Star, where it's basically sort of similar in terms of manliness, as it shows the same kind of art style from the manga, where the main character, Jonathan, looks like Kenshiro, where it shows a strong resemblance in terms of design and mannerism. So there's my put how I feel about the big distinction from those two.
Is there anything else that you want to cover on the topic part 1 for today?
No, that should be it, because I feel like if we dove in farther, it'd be another 3 hours or 4 hours of so on.
Yeah,
an archive of just talking about part 1 alone, where its reference stems to, and then it would be another thing. But for now, I just want to keep it simple and plain that JoJo part 1 is still pretty good if you watch the anime, and for my opinion.
Right. If you had to give it a rating out of 10, where would you rate part 1 out of 10? Personally, I would give it a strong 7 out of 10. Well, it's not as dynamic as other parts, but it's still good.
For me, I would give it very near a 7, but I'll just give it a 6.5, because it was very quick, but I wanted to have more delved into it, but it was basically Dio's story overall.
Right.
So, as much as I love JoJo, and I shout my praises for it, Part 1 was the weakest, in my opinion.
Well, yeah, like it's easily in my bottom two. My like the weakest part, in my opinion, being part three. But I'll go in more detail about that later when we cover part three, because I like all the parts of JoJo. It's just these two don't have the same humor or energy as the other ones, in my opinion. But with that being said, thank you for listening to our JoJo cast. If there's anything else that you want us to know or to cover in a future video, just let us know in the comments. This was your okay.
Yep, and if anything, just ask us anything about JoJo related. But if you want to be more curious about it, please check out the anime or the manga, because I say it's a fun read and good show to watch.
Okay, and thanks for listening. We'll see you
Uh-huh.
later. Just let us
Thank
know
you.
if you have any comments, and we'll do our best to address them. Thank you, and goodbye.